Hey everybody, it's Karen Anderson here with Aorta for our weekend review. Although today it's pre-recorded because I got stuff to do and I can't be with you, couldn't be with you. I'm so lost on where we are in the week. This was beginning of the week and it doesn't matter. You can still drop your comments below, but don't forget to click like and please click share because something in this weekend review will resonate with others. This doesn't have to be just shared with people in the aorta community. A lot of times the articles that we present here are applicable for many other diseases or illnesses or just life in general. And click the bell so that you're subscribed and you're notified every time we go live, so that you don't miss anything. We just actually had a live a week or so ago with Amy Klump. It was our first time doing one focused on physical therapy as an additive or potential alternative if you are not approved to cardiac rehab. And that was such a great live event. I've heard so many wonderful comments back about that. People who just never thought that if they felt deconditioned, that they could go to PT after, open heart surgery or procedure. So I'm glad we were able to bring that to you and shed light on that important topic. And right now we're going to jump into our week in review. Again, I feel like, am I in the past or am I in the future? I'm not really too sure. But we're going to go to Medical Monday. This topic, we bring up topics multiple times, I think, throughout the year because there's always new people joining the community. And it's important because these are things that happen to people every day. And so if you see this picture, if you know, you know. Not everybody would understand what this picture means. Josh, do you know what this picture means? He doesn't. Oh my God. Ding, ding, ding. Yeah. And this is literally like what it looks like to people. It's so bizarre. When you have these ocular migraines or the auras that come with some of our migraines, or sometimes without a headache at all, this is kind of what it looks like. You know what? For me, it starts off as if I looked at the bumper of a car ahead of me. And you know how, like, sometimes you'll just see spots for a while after a bright light, but the spots don't leave. And then they start off tiny and then they grow and they take over your entire peripheral vision. And then there's just spots everywhere. And then the light sensitivity, temperature sensitivity, I mean, it lasts about 20 minutes on average, and then it just goes away. But it can be jagged. Sometimes I get rings of just triangles, perfect weird shaped triangles. Like, just sometimes it's just dots. It's so strange. It's really kind of odd. But I'm curious to know how many of you have experienced these types of flashes, the zigzags people will describe, loss of vision temporarily in one eye or maybe both eyes, or maybe you just see this variety of pattern in your vision. If you have, these are called auras, and 15 to 30% of people who have migraines will actually experience these types of visual things with or without a headache. It doesn't really matter, but they experience auras. And I'm curious to know how many people in the aorta community, especially, have experienced these, but maybe didn't experience it before having your dissection or before having surgery. I just think that would be interesting to track. But according to the article, What to Know About a Migraine in Very Well Health, written by Dr. Colleen Dougherty, a migraine is a complex brain condition that actually affects 1 billion people, that's billion, each year worldwide. And besides a severe headache, migraine attacks can cause other symptoms like nausea, light sensitivity, temporal visual changes. Despite the variable and disabling nature of a migraine attack, there's numerous treatment and preventative options available. And you'll hear people talk about Imitrex as a medication. And I think that I can't remember if that's pill or shot, Botox. And I'm not talking about Botox that's going to make you, look like this. I'm talking about 30 some Botox in your scalp. So for people who have migraines and are thinking, oh, I'm going to go get Botox and just look really young, doesn't work like that. You don't get to pick where the Botox goes. It's very specific in where it goes, and there's a lot of shots with that. And I think that happens every few months. So also, so that you are aware, there's a variety of types of migraines, but here's some of the symptoms, and maybe you can determine if you're having a migraine or not. But migraine attacks actually cause throbbing or pounding pain. It can be on one or both sides of the head. Doesn't mean sides, left to right. It could be front to back. And any movement can actually aggravate the pain, which can become severe enough that you actually have to miss school or work. When I was younger, I started developing migraines as my hormonal changes were kicking in. So, right around age 13, and it would disable me. I mean, I had a lot of vomiting, tons of nausea. I thought the first time it happened, I thought I was going blind. I did not know what it was. My mother picked me up. We went right to the pediatrician, and he said, "Yeah, this is a migraine." And back then, they gave me nitroglycerin to put under my tongue, which I don't really think they do that often right now. But so I've suffered with them on and off throughout my years, but then they just tapered off. And what I noticed is for me, a trigger was caffeine, which is odd because they make Excedrin for migraine. So sometimes when you have a migraine headache, taking Excedrin for migraine, which has caffeine additive, it would help the headache. I know that for myself, if I drank too much iced tea, caffeinated, or Coca-Cola or had chocolate, that would exasperate how many times I might have it in a month. And yet sometimes out of nowhere, if I have a migraine, I might then take some caffeine in, which actually assists and alleviates some of the symptoms. But so some of the symptoms that you might have with a migraine, which makes it different than your average headache, would be nausea or vomiting, would be sensitivity to light, could be sensitivity to sound, sensitivity to smell, neck stiffness or pain, trouble sleeping, and some mood changes like anxiety or depression, which would make sense because sometimes these headaches are just so incredibly debilitating. But if you want to learn more about migraines and more about these headaches that may happen with or without an aura, you should check out the article that came out this past Monday or last Monday, and let us know. Drop us a line, leave us a comment here, and let us know if you've ever had them and what your experience is like. I just think it's kind of helpful for other people in the community to feel validated by stuff like this. But it is not. It's not. A migraine isn't something that's going to take you out. Thunderclap headaches are extremely different from a migraine, and it is not anything that's going to be gradual. It's going to be extremely sudden. But as always, if you're concerned about what you're feeling and it's something that's particularly different, get in touch with your doctor and always make sure, is this something that's okay, or is this something I should be concerned with? That's your Medical Monday. But you were right on the money there, Josh. Good for you. All right. This is not part of Tuesday. This was something that we applied to and we won. And we're going to be spreading the joy with everybody. This is really interesting. There's an organization called Let's Roam. And what they do is they read the applications, they choose a winner, and they will donate 5 very fun and unique items that make great gifts. So they are now one of our gift donors, which is awesome. So we can go back to them year after year. You need to check out Let's Roam because what they have given us is 5. We've got our options of virtual or in-person like scavenger hunts. It's a great thing to do if you're going to be hosting your child's birthday party, and you can put them on a virtual or in your home scavenger hunt, or you can go out someplace, and they're just almost like a team building exercise. And so we've got 5 of these certificates that we're going to offer throughout our silent auctions and various online events that people have an opportunity to bid and to win. So kind of a cool way for people to have fun, just a little different. Such an interesting thing that they offer for people, but we will have more information about that in the near future. It's called Let's Roam. Check them out. All right, let's move on to Topic Tuesday. Again, we have third-year med student Adam Ahmed, who is contributing to our Topic Tuesdays, which is a great thing for him, and it's a great win for us. And so in this particular Topic Tuesday, you can see all these like exciting, wonderful graphics that we have here talking about the aorta, talking about the different parts of the aorta, talking about the aortic valve. Obviously, we're going to be talking about the aorta, but we are always reminded to think aorta, because aortic hope really wouldn't exist if doctors weren't thinking about the aorta. And because they were, there are people's lives who have been saved, there are diagnoses that have been made, and then aortic hope can come in and help support everybody. But we want to help identify the early signs and symptoms of an aortic aneurysm to facilitate early medical checkups. However, have you ever wondered exactly what the aorta is? This is so great because Adam took us back to brass tacks, like day one, aorta 101. And he shares this wonderful article from the Cleveland Clinic that basically summarized the facts about the largest artery in the body. And it still fascinates me when I'll walk into a room and I'll ask, how many people know what the aorta is? And there's like a pocket of people, probably because there's a doctor in their family, but most people don't really know what it is. So let's talk about the aorta for a second. So the aorta is that candy cane shaped vessel. It is the largest vessel in your body. And it starts in the lower chamber of the heart, which is called the left ventricle. I should probably show you this graphic here a little bit. It's right here, right? Boop, boop, there's your heart. And let's go back down to the words. And it extends upwards, which would be ascending in a curved fashion before it descends down the body. Like all arteries, its main function is to carry oxygen rich blood from your heart to the rest of your body's organs and tissues. So think about this, it's like the super highway of the body. All of your body receives its oxygen blood from this vessel. It just takes it everywhere. And on average, the aorta can actually be up to a foot long and an inch in diameter at its widest point. Now, people are going to say only an inch. That's because we as a community are used to talking in terms of centimeters. But we're talking the same basically as a garden hose, probably a little bit bigger. But as it travels down to your pelvic area, it narrows to almost only 2 centimeters, which is amazing because it's still supplying blood flow to the lower half of your body. But it gives off branches to your brain, and that's called the great vessels, as well as branches to your abdominal organs and your kidneys. And it eventually separates into two common iliac arteries, and that travels everything to your legs. So again, this aorta, I'm doing a lesson, look at that, goes out from the heart, up and around. And look at all these little branches. These are the great vessels, right? They're going to carry it to your head. And then you've got some that take them to your arms and to your abdomen and to your spleen and your kidneys and your liver and everything. It goes to everything, and then it branches off through the legs. Okay. So the aorta is not just one piece of tissue. It's not like one tube. It's going to have layers, just like a garden hose. If you cut into a garden hose, you're going to see that there are layers in a garden hose. So they actually have 3 layers of tissue, and I am not going to try to pronounce it. You can't pay me enough money to try to butcher the names of these, but there is an inner layer, there is a middle layer, and there is an outer layer. Let's keep it simple. But did you know that a true aortic aneurysm actually involves all 3 of these layers? And a pseudoaneurysm only contains less than 3. So when we find out we have an aneurysm, that means that this weakening has occurred in all 3 layers of the aorta. So it's bulging out of all 3 layers versus a pseudoaneurysm, which people sometimes think pseudo means not real or fake or maybe not as bad. Pseudoaneurysms pretty bad too, but that only involves 1 layer. So try to memorize all 3 of these layers that I can't even pronounce. It can be a little difficult unless you think of it in terms of inner, middle, and outer. So there's a link to the article for the rest of the information that has to do with the aorta. And as always, our family here at Aorta Cope, thank you for being on this journey with us. Be safe and remember to think aorta. And that is your Tuesday article from Adam. And wait till you see some of these articles he's coming up with. It's just the way that he's able to translate the information is just, it's wonderful. It's really wonderful to read. And so if you ever wondered whether you have an aneurysm or you've had a dissection, because believe me, over the next weeks, we're going to be getting into everything. This is it. This is what's in your body. It's pretty remarkable that this vessel feeds everything, takes care of everything, which is why it's so important, which is why if you have an injury like an aneurysm or you have a tear like a dissection, it could be very critical because you're compromising the one vessel you have that feeds everything, which is why we talk about think aorta, think family. If you've had anybody in your family who's had aneurysms or dissections or bicuspid valve or issues, you want to talk about these conditions because there's a high probability it could be passed down to generation. As we discover more genetic mutations and conditions, it's important to have these conversations now. And you think about your aorta and think about your family. Pretty cool stuff, huh? Topic Tuesday. It's pretty miraculous, I think. That's because I know a lot about my aorta now, because I have to. All right, let's continue. We are talking about another organization that we are part of called Tis Best, right? I don't know if you guys have heard about this. This is such a unique concept. We like to bring these organizations up that have partnered with us. They share information about us because many people in the community ask, how can I give back? How can I contribute? How can I volunteer? What can I do? Et cetera, et cetera. And we lost Amazon Smile. All of the nonprofits are feeling it. We don't have the benefit of when people were making purchases of receiving that 0.5% anymore. But Tis Best is a very unique organization. So if you're looking for a very memorable and meaningful gift to give to somebody else, Tis Best is one of your options here. So what you do is you choose the amount you want to give to somebody, and it's basically like a pay it forward type of scenario. So if I want to give my sister a gift for her birthday and I want to give her $50, I can buy a gift card through Tis Best, pay my $50, give her the gift card, and then she gets to use it to make a donation to one of her favorite charities. These are kind of the gifts that people wouldn't think to do for themselves. Not many people think throughout the year, I think for my birthday or for I want to just make a donation right to the charity and have a card sent to them. I mean, that stuff usually happens if someone passes away and it's listed in the obituary. If you'd like to make a donation in lieu of flowers, you can make one to Aorta Cope. But this is something that you can use all year round. So anytime you want to give a gift to somebody, give the gift that keeps on giving. You basically buy a charity gift card. All the steps are here. It's very easy. You choose what type of gift card. They have so many that are really very fun and attractive. You can actually customize your gift card. It can be sent electronically. It can be sent in a paper. It can be sent plastic. You get all these different choices, and you can design your gift card. You can put a picture of your loved one. You can put a family photo, whatever you want. Create this fun and unique, one of a kind gift card for the amount that you want to give them. And it starts at $10 and up. And then the recipient receives this gift card and they can choose when they go on the Tis Best website, they can actually choose to apply it to a nonprofit of their choice, Aorta Cope, just putting that plug in. And they do so by entering a code and then they pick out the organization. So we kind of look at it as a pay it forward gift, the gift that just keeps giving, because as you know, 100% of the donations we receive, we turn around and put it right back into the community through our initiatives. But check it out. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty different. We're going to talk about it many times in the future. Again, looking for that unique gift, think about a Tis Best gift card and gift that keeps on giving. Pretty new, pretty exciting. All right. Moving on to Thank You Thursday. It was National Nurse Appreciation Week. Now, we know that the doctors do so much to put us back together, to stitch us back together, to get it all back together. But really, it's the nurses. It's the nurses that kind of give us the ability to see our recovery, to actually see it as something we can attain. And I know that when you think about nurses, we tend to think about Florence Nightingale. At least that's the one that comes to mind outside of my own personal nurse. However, did you know that the very first nurse who was ever professionally trained in the United States was a woman named Linda Richards? She was born in 1841. And as noted in Wikipedia, Linda was the first professionally trained nurse in the United States. And her experiences with nursing her dying mother and her husband, who was wounded in the Civil War, it really inspired her to actually want to become a nurse herself. And she was the first student to enroll in the very first nurse training school at New England Hospital for Women and Children in 1872. She established a nurse training program in the United States and Japan and created the first system for keeping individual medical records for hospitalized patients. Little tidbit there. If you'd like to learn more about Linda, you can always click on the link in the article in Trustees Nurse Staffing, which was written by Martin Vidal, titled Linda Richards Honoring America's First Nurse. And we did on Facebook have a lot of shout outs to many, many nurses and individuals who helped really provide the care that all of us in the community needed in order to move forward with recovery and treatment. So hats off to all of the nurses in whatever field and specialty you have. We appreciate you. Okay, moving right along. Community campaign for Think Aorta, Think Family. This is the Bertozzis. Did you know, and you should know by now, that aortic disease runs in families? It's much more common than you think. And when you're in doubt, you should check it out. Aortic dissection is the rare event that happens because nobody was checking out their aortas because maybe they just didn't know to. But Karen Bertozzi's story is very different. And we have launched Think Aorta has launched their community connection portion, which is Think Aorta, Think Family. And kicking off their story is Karen Bertozzi, who tells the story about the connection that went on in her family, about how she had, after her experience, her dissection, how she had that potentially awkward, nerve-wracking conversation with her family, and then how her family were checked. Now, we don't mean it has to only be genetic testing. We mean, in the very least, somebody should have this conversation with their physician and talk to the physician about if they should receive an echocardiogram or if they should receive a CT scan, which is a little bit more because you're involving radiation, but you could also have an MRI. It just takes longer. But when you talk about the patterns and your family history, people should have a baseline diagnosis or check. And then you can really only do that through the echo, CT, or MRI. If you decide to add in genetics, that is your choice. That's a whole other ball of wax that we can talk about at some point, but at least have the conversation and talk to your physician. And if it's determined that you should have a baseline, that's great. And then you should be monitored and follow through, because in this story, you will see and you will hear what happens when a family does all these right things and exactly what the outcome was, which is incredible. I don't want to give too much away, but suffice it to say, they did the right thing. They had the conversation. Her siblings were checked, and things were discovered, and lives were saved. And that's the whole basis of Think Aorta, Think Family, is to save lives, have an early diagnosis if it's meant to be, and then to proceed with monitoring so that we avoid the dissection. Think Aorta is getting it right. Two simple words making a huge difference, rolling out that Think Aorta, Think Family campaign. And honestly, they are looking for families right now who also have had these conversations, who have also had family members go to the doctors, have a test of whatever nature. And we don't necessarily need to know all the details of what goes on because we understand that's private, but we want to know, we want to help them identify people for this campaign. People who have had the conversation, been to the doctor, tell us what's happened, give us an idea. Did other family members, were they identified at being potentially at risk? Was everybody fine? And is everybody still being monitored? We just need to know that that hard work by the community is happening, because ultimately it will help save lives if we can avoid the dissections. So if you're interested in helping the Think Aorta, Think Family campaign, if you've had these conversations, if you'd like to share your experience, they need to hear from you. They want to hear from you. And there's a link here to a form that you can complete, and somebody from Think Aorta US will be in touch. And you know what? Then you can see your family's picture up in lights right here. You'll get this social media marketing to use on your own channels. You'll have your family's photo in here that you can share to your heart's desire. There's going to be a link to your video, to your story, and we're hoping and expecting you're going to blast this out, because it's not only about it's really, think about this. People have cancer, diabetes, stroke, heart disease, brain aneurysms. All of these things we should be sharing with our physicians and talking about this history to help have our families be monitored, to make sure that they don't have the same issues that any of us have had with any of these medical conditions. So if you'd like to see your name in lights and your family's photo up here, please click that link and someone will be in touch. Think Aorta, Think Family. Spreading the good information, sharing the information. It's the community campaign. We hope that you'll join. Okay. It was First Friday fundraiser. You know what happens. What happens is that it's not loading. Okay, there we go. First Friday fundraiser day. Always the first Friday of the month. We have some type of like fundraiser or discount or something awesome, but we are launched a new shop. It's official. It's our third Hope Shop. It's called Spread Shop. But this is where you're going to find, and I can click through some of these pictures here. This is where you're going to find most of our apparel. This is our primary shop for apparel: shirts, sweatshirts, aprons. The aprons are awesome. Hats, so much more, but primary for apparel. And if you're looking to grab some swag this month for upcoming Father's Day, for instance, there's a 15% discount. It's automatic. It's in the shop. It's already happening. So you need to just click the redeem button and you'll automatically get 15% off. And obviously, when this post was written, Mother's Day was right around the corner, but right now it's like in a couple days. But Father's Day is around the corner, graduation gifts around the corner, birthdays, just summer fun days. Maybe you just need an apron because you're going to start barbecuing. I don't know. You want a baseball cap, 15% off. And you want to check that out because that's now during this month. But it's a great way to create awareness and to talk about aortic disease is to wear some swag. Ultimately, somebody's going to come up to you. They're going to ask you, what is this logo? What is aortic hope? What does this mean? And we also have specific logos just for caregivers that they created, that this wonderful community created. So you really do want to check it out and click redeem, get that 15% off. It is from our Spread Shop, Hope Shop. And you can also find that information by clicking on Hope Shops when you go to our website. So check it out. Let us know what you think. It was our Friday. Okay, Saturday, Survivor Series. Super excited to feature an incredible story of survival. I mean, they're all incredible. I know I always say an incredible story, but this is truly a story unlike anything I've ever heard of before, honestly. And this comes from Justin Woods. He basically shares his story of survival. He knew he had Marfan. So let's just preface that. That was already known. That was already known. So this wasn't like it was a surprise. He knew he had Marfan syndrome, but it doesn't end with just like one episode that happens to him, which we will all assume was probably a dissection, right? It's so incredible that Justin is around to be able to tell this story. He had multiple complications and multiple surgeries in an extremely short period of time. Complications, surgeries, one thing after another. As I was reading this, it was just blowing my mind away. The way he shares his experiences is just with such grace, and just he provides such a deep sense of inspiration and just really reset my mind into how I view my own health journey. And I just check out his story. Click on the link. It's a written blog. It's under our Survivor series here. It's on this post here. You just need to click the link. Well, I'm into the link right now. This is the blog. You need to check it out. You need to give it a read. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing stuff. So hats off to Justin Woods for sharing with us. And if you would be interested in being one of our featured survivors or caregivers, or if you'd like to share a story of grief, if you've lost someone, we'd be honored to share that with the community because it's very validating for other members of the community to hear similarities to their own stories. And it also creates a sense of questions and things that people can take back to their own position. Nuances and things are a little different in treatment or medications or someone's recovery compared to their own. So you'll never know how impactful telling your story can be. And you can do it one of three ways. You can do it in a written form, as Justin did here. You can do it in a pre-recorded video, and you can also go live. And the benefit to going live is that people have an opportunity to ask you questions, to interact with you. And that's going to make you feel really good too, I promise. I know it sounds scary, but it's not scary. It's actually really fun. I always thought it would be scary, but it's not. It's a really a good time, especially when you can have that banter and have that communication with community members. So if you're interested, there's links within our Survivor Series videos that you'll see up on this section on the website. And you can always send us a question at info@aortichope.org. We'll get more information to you to consider joining our Survivor Series. Okay, we're moving on to Sunday. It's Share With You Sunday. Haven't talked about this in probably about 2 months or a month and a half. We're talking about Lauren's Hope. Everybody asks, what kind of medical identification should I wear? Should I buy? You know, in the doctor's offices, they tend to have these very generic looking pieces of jewelry that almost make you feel depressed that you have to wear a piece of medical identification. It's so depressing. No offense to the people that make that. But you are going to start finding in doctors' offices more often information about Lawrence Hope and how our collaboration is with them, because we're shipping them out in droves right now. But it is important to consider wearing a medical identification bracelet or dog tag or something when you have aortic disease. And that's because if anything happens to you and you're unable to communicate what is going on, a first responder is very well aware of the symbol, the universal symbol for medic and medical issues, and they're going to know to turn over that piece of jewelry and to check out what's going on with you. It'll at least give them a sense of what's happening. Lawrence Hope always offers very generous discounts to people in the community, but when you click that link, there is a percentage of your sale actually is kicked back to Aortic Hope. And 100% of that money, as you know, we turn around and we use towards our initiatives in the community. What I love that Lawrence Hope offers for free is a shopper service. Remember back in the day when malls were really popular and you could go into Nordstrom's or Macy's or someplace and they'd have a shopper that would help you buy clothes. Well, if you don't know, that is what existed. It was a thing. They have a online real person, not computer, not virtual, a real person that will listen to you, find out if you have any types of metal alloy allergies. And although most of their pieces, if not all, are hypoallergenic, they will find out like what your fashion style is, what you're kind of looking for. Do you want something more rugged? Are you athletic, waterproof, the whole 9 yards? And they're going to help pick out the best pieces for you, with you. And because they've been working with us for so long and working with EMTs, they've kind of, I don't know, really specialized now in the right acronyms for people with this condition. So they also know the acronyms for allergies, for in case of emergency. They know the best way to shorten the word Plavix. They know the best way to shorten if you had an IV contrast allergy. So they know a lot of things, and they're going to be very, very helpful in helping you figure out how to create the 5 lines on the back of your identification piece. I highly recommend that you can give them a call and check them out online, get a sense of what they have to offer. They'll still honor all discounts if you make a purchase through the phone, but ask for the shopping service if this is your first time. They will really put your mind at ease and help you identify the best piece for yourself. So that was our Share With You Sunday. See, that's great. And these bracelets, I have to point out, are interchangeable. So if you're somebody that wants a bracelet and they fashion for men, for women, for children, for anybody, you can just buy different bracelets that link onto the tags. You only have to buy a tag once if this is the style you choose. So something to think about. Okay, Share With You Sunday. All right, we made it through a week. Oh my gosh, look at all this that we had going on for the month of May. It's so much stuff, so much stuff. So Thursday, the 11th, which is what today is right now, we have Dr. Prakash doing his first Ask a Doctor with us live on YouTube. There's a couple of reasons for this. One, he's going to talk a lot about his exercise research study that he has going on right now out of UT Houston, so University of Texas, Houston, as well as 2 other locations. And it'll give you an opportunity to ask questions and see if maybe this research study is something that's appropriate for you. I'm also going to ask him to talk a little bit about his bicuspid valve research study that he has going on as well. And we're just going to take your questions about everything and anything. Now, if you would like to ask a question anonymously, because this is a public forum on YouTube live tonight, again, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. If you want to ask a question privately, send it to Aortic Hope early at info@aortichope.org, and we will ask it for you. But still, coming up in the weeks to follow, we have a caregiver support group meeting on the 20th at 4 p.m. Eastern. All these times are Eastern. Obviously, weekend reviews every Monday. Next Monday on the 15th, it's going to be with Tammy Warner. She will be your host for the day. We also have our today at 2 p.m. Thursday, for those of you that are watching this like later this afternoon, but we have Aortic Hope's Hangouts. We have a couple more of those still coming up at 2 p.m. on Thursdays. We have our second installment of the AHTV Aortic Kitchen, episode 2 with Chef Rob, who's also a survivor, and his wife, Mindy. They are our culinary and nutrition educators. So episode 2 is coming up. That will be live on Tuesday, the 23rd at 7 p.m. Eastern. If you didn't get a chance to check out the first one, definitely check it out. I had to check it out in rerun. It was awesome. I have a million questions already. They showed everybody how to make your own stock, your own soup, but more importantly, your bone broth stock. And it was just so easy to follow along and to watch. Great jobs on camera angles. I loved every minute of it. I cannot wait for the second one. And I'm just going to be like ready to try to cook along with them. I talked with people. They told me that even in the most minimal, they learn knife skills. They've learned how to choke up on their knife, and they're amazed that all of a sudden that they're dicing onions like a pro. So you're going to get something out of it. It is not limited to the aortic community. Please share this event with your family and friends. I think you'll have a blast joining in. And then we have bingo. Our bingo event is coming up on the 25th at 7 p.m. That's always a good time. That is free. We have 10 rounds. The information's in the link. And then we round out the month with our last Wednesday at 7 p.m., the 31st, our final support group meeting for the general public of the month before I have to start loading up all kinds of stuff that's happening in June. So this was this week's Week in Review. Sorry I couldn't be with everybody live, but I'm excited to be able to get the information out to you. I think you're going to have a great time with Tammy on the 15th. And I will see you again on the 22nd of May. Thank you so much. Don't forget to click like, click subscribe, click the little bell so you're notified of all of the events, including the cooking show that's coming up. And you'll hear about that live on YouTube. And I just thank you so much for joining. Take care.